Paul and Linda McCartney there, and it's just another day. Before that, Sarah Blasco, good Aussie talent there, Never Let Me Go, and Lighthouse, Opening the Break, and Ocean Drive. It's 26 past 9, DCFM 88.9, and it's time, that time of the week. Here we go.
It's time now for the latest news on what's hot and what's not in the world of technology with Mathew Dickerson on Tech Talk. Here on DCFM 88.9.
Morning, Matthew. Oh, hang on, I've got to turn you on, mate.
Thank you.
You
get more enjoyment out of that every week, don't you?
I do. I do indeed. Before we start, your book, Tech Talk.
Well, it's not released yet. I'm just giving you some pre-release copies, so you can have those to have a read. That's just the best of all my tech columns. So my Tech Talk column goes across 140 newspapers across Australia, and so I've just put together a best of from last year.
A best of, and 142 pages.
142 pages of technology, of talking, and there's a lot of topics that we've talked about over the last year here on DCFM that'll obviously be featured in the book as well. So copy there for you to read, and we'll bring in some copies and you can do some giveaways to your listeners if you'd like.
Shall do. Yeah. We had a giveaway yesterday. It was really funny. I said, come to the door. And so people were coming to the door, but the best one was Shane in his truck. This massive truck pulls up.
As long as he only stopped at the door, didn't come through.
No, he did. I was going to say. Anyway, he got his CD. Morning, Shane. Hope you're enjoying it. I've got to ask you about this. The generator that uses bacteria to create electricity. Wow. Yeah. There are a lot of battery companies out there for these things would be worried about this one.
I think the first area that they'll focus on will be the wearables market, because wearables don't use a lot of power and it's a bit inconvenient. Some of the watches available at the moment, you need to charge every night.
That's right.
So it's a bit inconvenient. So having something that generates enough power to keep it going is obviously a handy thing. And phones obviously as well. It used to be the old days before smartphones. You could go 3 or 4 days with your phone. Now you're down to really 1 day is about the best you get out of it if you're a fairly active user. So they do sound like first world problems, I must admit. Oh no, I've got to charge my phone every day. But people are out there trying to invent and create and be innovative, and bacteria is the latest innovation in being able to use bacteria and the energy that they produce to actually charge a battery. So obviously it's very small scale, and that's where a wearable, a watch for example, would be useful. The idea will be that they will try and scale it up to an actual phone. So you'll get to the point where maybe you'll just put some new bacteria in your phone once every week, once every month if they get really good at it, and that bacteria sits there and generates enough power for you to keep using your device.
You couldn't wipe your phone on your arm and use that bacteria.
I think it'll be fairly specific bacteria, and I guarantee that it'll be something that someone can charge you, as in charge you money to use. So if you just rub it on your arm, they wouldn't be able to charge you money to do that. So I'm pretty sure they'll come up with a way that you have to go and buy the bacteria somehow separately.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Maybe that's the old age cynic can be coming out, Richard.
Well, I think so. Anyway, I thought it might be a good idea. Yeah.
Look, it's an excellent idea.
Rub it under your arm. It might get in the way of the deodorant, though. But
it could do.
Oh, look, let's get away from that. This is a serious one. The study finds a quarter of the climate change denial tweets are from bots. You better explain what a bot is, first of all, and then the seriousness of it.
Yeah, so a robot, obviously bot is shortening for robot. Effectively, it doesn't mean there's a robot physically sitting there typing. It's an algorithm, a program that someone's written that will automatically put content out. Now, obviously, people have got to create the content, they've got to create the rules, create the algorithms, and effectively, what's really scary there is that, as you said, over a quarter of the analysis that was done in terms of people out there, supposedly people denying that climate change is real or denying that humans have created it, have been written by bots. Now, what that tells me is that there aren't some people out there that are just randomly doing it. There are organisations that are paid, and those have got vested interests typically, and whether they've been coal or in the oil industry. And there was one particular coal company that was found out about 6 months ago that had waged a 2-year multi-million-dollar campaign of social media opinion changing in relation to climate change. So there are people out there doing it. Now, we all thought when that happened that they employed a lot of people to write various comments on social media and to respond to people and to try and change opinions. But in fact, what they were doing was they were employing organisations that employed bots, or not employed bots, but engaged bots to actually write those. So it's quite incredible. So when you read some of the things you read on Twitter, when you read some of the things, even some of the comments you see on other social media, you really just have to maybe have a think about whether it's really a person or someone with multiple accounts. That happens as well, where people try and change people's opinions. So you need to just be a little bit sceptical and just apply that blowtorch of critical thinking to it to see whether it makes sense.
So which company in Russia is influencing the elections in America at the moment? I mean, that's a question we've got to ask.
Exactly right. And it probably won't be as big an influence as last time with some of the changes that have happened with social media, with some of the outing of fake news as it is. Yes. But there will be bots employed. They're not creating fake news. They're just changing opinion, putting out comments out there. So it makes it look like there's a real groundswell of opinion when really it's just an organisation or organisations that are employing bots to actually make it look like the opinion's different.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So is a Volkswagen changing the subject completely with their electric sports car, taking on Tesla?
Oh, absolutely. And Volkswagen, obviously, their reputation was damaged. I would have said irreparably, but I don't think it is irreparable. I think their reputation was damaged with the scandal with diesel, where they were changing the actual engine performance when they were under testing regime, and then outside that they went and polluted the world more than anyone ever thought they were. So that was pretty damaging, and that was probably 5 or 6 years ago now that occurred. So what they're doing now is they're focusing on the electric industry, and that's fantastic. Another electric car maker is great, but they're really focused on this IDR concept where they're putting out these cars that are really just performance vehicles. And they're going around to different tracks around the world and breaking lap records. They haven't been to Mount Panorama yet, but they're going around and basically showing off what they can do. So these are obviously one-off cars they're making, but it's to try and change that reputation, make Volkswagen seem like an incredibly progressive company, high-performance company, but they will actually then release some sports cars on the back of that. And the Tesla Roadster is going to be the fastest performance car in the world, the new version, when that's released. But again, Volkswagen are out there saying, we think we can beat the Tesla Roadster. So they're going head on, and that's fantastic, because I think people, the image after the last federal election of electric cars being a bit dour and a bit lacking in performance, when you actually get in one and drive them, they're incredible to drive. But also, when you've got competitions like this going on between manufacturers, that sounds like it's an exciting time.
Indeed it is. I wonder where Holden's going to fit into all of this.
Yeah, what a great opportunity for someone to take the Holden brand name and make an electric car out of it.
Seriously, yeah. Seriously, and because at the moment, Holden people who've got Holdens, they've really got duds, haven't they? And they're going to be trying to sell a second-hand Holden, to sell a Holden in the second-hand market.
Well, I think the one mistake Holden made was they had a great car for Australian conditions 40 years ago, but they just didn't change. They didn't see what was happening in the market. So, yeah, quite interesting. But there's opportunities out there.
Okay, the Xbox. Now, Xbox have 8 times more powerful than Xbox One, and Microsoft are saying all these sort of things, of course, to boost sales. Yeah, true? Right. False?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely true. And the interesting part, I actually find it's fascinating that the console wars are still going. Sony PlayStation, they've got a new version coming out. They haven't released specs of it yet. Obviously, the Xbox we're talking about. So there's a competition going on between the consoles, the two major consoles still. You've got Nintendo with their Switch as well. So there's some competition there. I find that more and more people are playing games on their phones now. Certainly computers are still used. So the fact there's a console market there is incredible. They've brought out this new Xbox, announced the specs for the new Xbox. They haven't released it yet. And the idea will be that they're just trying to put a shot across the bow of Sony and say, well, we've got this, what have you got? And let the wars continue. So for games, and I must admit, I very rarely play on a console anymore. I play against my son sometimes when he's here playing. But yeah, your phone and your computer seem to be used more and more. So it's something that's interesting, and I'm not sure how long we'll have consoles as the power of computers and phones keeps increasing. I mean, they're claiming with the latest Xbox that it's got a performance of 12 teraflops a second. So that's quite incredible in the performance, outright performance. When you think of some supercomputers from a few years ago, that would have embarrassed them in terms of the performance. So for a console, it's quite incredible with the performance. But gee, I mean, how much longer are people going to keep playing on consoles for?
I don't know. I play on my phone, and when an ad comes on television, if I'm watching commercial television, I play chess with myself.
Yeah. And do you beat yourself?
Yeah, yes, but I'm always white, and I'm always white, and black tries to beat me. But it's a great way to pass the time while you're waiting for the next segment to start on commercial television. Yeah, and half the time you're so concentrated on this on the phone that you forget. Well, we're back watching what I was watching. Yeah.
But you're right, there's so many people who play just simple games on their phones now, but the power on a phone and the games you can play on there are quite incredible, especially with the motion sensors in them. You can actually use the phone to move around rather than actually just relying on the touch on the screen. So, and you've always got your phone in your pocket. So if you do have a break in an ad break or in a car or on a bit of public transport.
We better take car out of the situation.
Well, not driving.
Yes,
I'm assuming you're a passenger.
Good man. This is a radio station after all.
That's true. Yeah, so anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the console wars.
Indeed.
Let them
Matthew,
continue.
always good talking with you with Tech Talk. Congratulations on the book. We'll have a look. And can I give them away next week?
Yeah, sure. We'll work out some sort of deal, and we'll do something for you on DCFM.
I think we've got to have some questions. We'll make it a bit hard because it's a good book. Yeah. All right. 25 to 10 DCFM 88.9 Tech Talk with Mathew Dickerson. Matthew back on next Wednesday morning around about 9:30. Right now, though, we better tell you all about this.